It's Gel Beauty 87 here, and I'm trying out this new thing. So I got 5 brands that dupe themselves going on here. So I figured I'd test out this video and see how you like it. So let me get a sip of my cranberry juice, and then we can get started. If you're curious what's on my lips, I just did a whole swatch video of the new Nabla creamy liquid lipsticks I bought during the National Lipstick Day at Ulta. So that should be coming up on IGTV soon. And this is one of the colors on my lips. This is called My Rules. Anyway, let's get started with the palettes. So I have like 2 or 3 influencer palettes, then a couple other brands, and then of course a couple of honorable mentions. So I'm gonna start off with the honorable mentions because they're not exact the way that I feel these other things are pretty exact. So we'll start off with Juvia's Place. So I feel like these palettes have somewhat close enough similar color stories, so it's like, why did you need both? And I personally like the Warrior 3 better than I like the Zulu palette, but since Zulu came out first, this is what it looks like. So I feel like they tried to make this one a little bit more neutral than the Warrior palette, but I feel like they have a really close similar color story. See, they both got the purple, they both got, well, this one has a greenish blue, and then the blue in this one is shimmery as opposed to this one. Then you got like a orange and this pinkish shade, and then a couple of the other colors are just shimmers, and then you got a neutral in this one, whereas you just have all color in this one. So I feel like both of these are similar enough to, it's like, why do we need both? You could have just made Warrior 3 and just not made Zulu at all, and I'd have been fine. Sorry if you do like Zulu, I'm just not that big a fan of it. I decluttered it and then bought it again because I heard and Jessica say it would be good to pair it with another palette. She didn't say this palette. I forgot which one she said to pair it with, but I was like, you know, Juvia's Place is always having a sale, so if I really need something, I'll just go ahead and get it in, and that's what it ended up happening. Now, I have another one that's an honorable mention, and this is Colored Rain. So, obviously, this one has a lot more neutrals in it than this one does, but I feel like the berry tone of this was somewhat similar to the berry tones in the Queen of Hearts palette, so I was just like, why? What was the point? See what I'm saying? Like, it has these berry tones right here, and as these berry tones right here. So I feel like some of the tones in here are similar enough to where you didn't need both of these palettes. I understand why they did it for the people who just want a concentration of purple. So that's why, again, it's an honorable mention. But I have these 2 going on right here. So these are my honorable mentions, and then we'll get into the ones that I feel like are really close to each other, where it's like the color story is close to damn near identical and just use different colors, but the premise of it is the same, or it's like literally so many shades and are exactly the same, so it's like, why? Just why? But anyway, we'll get started in a second. Hey y'all, so let's get into these copying brands. I had a little situation going on in the room I had to diffuse, if you will. But I'm gonna start off with one that I feel like you should just know and expect to see, which is Colourpop. So now, mind you, this is a collab, and then this is just a holiday collection that they did with Ulta. But I'm like, these are so similar to, it's like, did I really need both of these? Yes, because I love Side E, and I like the color story she came up with, and I thought it was interesting that they made a smaller version of it. I guess for people who don't like I Love Side E, who didn't want to pay the $24 for this, because this is $24. And this one is the regular price of the palettes in this, which I think is like $18 or something. And you know, you can use coupons at Ulta, so I made sure I grabbed this. And then I looked, and then as soon as I had this, I was like, that looks really similar. So this is what I Love Side E looks like. If you were unaware, I don't know how, because, you know, it's been out for, I think, like maybe 2 years now. Don't quote me. Might have been longer, might have been shorter, I don't know. But see what I'm saying? Like, these look close enough to, like, do you really need both of these? No, you don't. I mean, it has that bluish, greenish shade. This one is more green, this is more bluish. Then you have, like, a lot of the other tones. Now, the tones aren't exact, but I feel like close enough, and on the eyes, you can get, like, the same eye look. And both these palettes look the same to me, or close enough to the same, to where it's like, do I really need both? I don't, but do I have both? Yes, because I love Side E, and I thought it was cool that they had a condensed color story and they used a different shade for this color. But otherwise, for the most part, I feel like they look the same. And it's like, why y'all out here duping yourselves? I mean, I get why I just explained, but you know what I mean. It's like, did we really need both? I don't think we did. Next, I have the KKW Wake Up by Mario palettes, palette 1 and palette 2. Now, with this one, it's more of they duped the same premise, and they just took different shades, but they used like the same idea of a color story. They just changed out what the poppy color was, in my personal opinion. Like, for example, these both look really neutral. The only poppy color they changed was they have a blue in this one, and now they have like a sparkly blackish gray silver tone in this one. Because a lot of the premise is the same. Like, got them same two neutral shades. This neutral shade is a little bit darker than this beigeish, palish white situation going on here. Both the browns are pretty much the same. This brown is a little bit lighter than this brown, but that's pretty much it. Then there's the shimmers. Now the shimmers again are a little bit lighter, but it's like it's the same premise and pretty much the same color story. You just move the colors around in a certain way, but they're all about the same tone. The only thing that's different is like this yellowish shade that they have in here that they didn't have before. But everything else, like the premise of having one dark crease color and one pop of color, and then the more neutrally reddy colors and the more brown colors, and he put a shimmery pink instead of just a shimmery taupe, and a brighter gold instead of a, you know, toned down gold, and the more of a copperish looking shade instead of this, and they used a brighter red instead of a plummy red. It's like, it's the same premise for both of these palettes. It's just the color story is a little bit different. But you get what I'm saying now? Like, they out here duping themselves. You dupe yourself with just two different color stories of the exact same type of eyeshadow palette. So your one pop of color and all these boring neutral shades that you put in here, and then all these shades that I can't never use in the palette. So it's like you keep duping yourself. So I don't know what's going on with that. Now, you know, Milk Cosmetics just had to be in here because they got about 3 green palettes. It's like, I get it, you love green, I love green too, which is why I owned all 3. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying some people probably look at it like, why the hell do we need all 3 of these palettes? Now, I will say with the melt ones, at least they give you different tones of green each time. Like this one is more ain't the all matte palette with like one shimmer, whereas this one has some more neutrals in it because this is their first palette, and then greens in it. They're not exactly 100% the same. And then the Smoke Sessions has different greens too, which is why I didn't even bring it in here. I think it has 2 greens that might be somewhat similar to this. I have a whole video on this palette comparing it to this palette and Smoke Sessions. So if you want more info, I'll try to remember to put it up there. I promise nothing, but I will try. I promise I will try. How about that? Yeah, but let me open both of these so you can see what I'm talking about. But see, even with this one, I feel like it's somewhat similar because you got to think it has those yellow musty tones to it. The only difference is this one has a black and this one does not. It just has like a really dark, weirdish looking brown. But you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they look both pretty damn similar. It's like it has, I think this one has 2 shimmers though, and this one only has 1 shimmer. And the shimmer in this palette, I will say, is terrible. And these are a little bit more difficult to work with than this palette. But I feel like it's because the colors are brighter, and then maybe that makes them patchier. But overall, I mean, like, they have a similar idea behind them, which is like, we're gonna throw in some neutrals. So the neutrals in this one, I feel like are just shifted around differently. Like the more brown neutrals are going, what? Even with the, I just thought about, even with layout, it's somewhat the same. Because you got to think, they popped the yellow over here, but what do you see over here? Mainly neutrals. What do you see on this side? Mainly neutrals. So it's just like they shuffled one neutral from one side to the other side. We'll put the neutrals on this end of the palette with this one instead of the neutrals on this end of the palette like we did with Gemini. So it's like, it's the same premise and a lot of the same color story as type vibes going on, which is why they're in here. Just because, I mean, again, I appreciate them loving green. I'm glad they love green. I buy everything that they have that's green, so please continue to come out with green things. This is not trying to disrespect Melt by any means, because y'all know we a Melt stan over here. But I'm gonna need you to get at least one person to look like me on your team. Like, I don't care if they just behind the social media page picking out other brown people to put on there so you look more inclusive, but I'm gonna need you to do something. Like, if you keep expecting me to drop this $48 every time you drop a palette, I'm gonna need you to drop a person to look like you in, you know, in your company. I'm just saying. Like, you can't find one of your token black friends and like make them work for you, even if they just doing social media or like freelancing for you every now and again. Like, I'm gonna need something from you, Mel. I'm gonna need it. Okay, moving on. So I only have 2 more brands left. Now, this other brand I love as well. I absolutely love Dominique Cosmetics, but again, Latte and Latte 2. They're pretty much the same premise and idea. Now, remember the first one came out and it's like, oh yeah, you got this nice palette and you got 2 or 3 pops of color. Now, I technically don't consider this pumpkin shade a pop of color. So as far as I'm concerned, this palette only has 2 pops of color. But, you know, it's the same premise. And so is this one. Like, I mean, even down to the way she set it up. Now, she did change it just a little bit because I feel like She has 2 lighter brow bone-ish type shades as opposed to 1, but she still has the same little 3 pops of color at the end and the same shimmers at the bottom and the same like matte situation at the top. She just gave, I feel like, an extra brow bone or like whatever color, because like people were complaining last time when she made this palette how the yellow shade didn't necessarily work for everybody, but it's like the yellow shade works for me more than these 2 other shades that you put in here, because at least with the yellow shade I can put that underneath my eyes, since her palettes are supposed to be all purpose for the face. So I guess I could put both of these whitish shades underneath my eye. That's what I appreciate about her brand. At least you can put everything everywhere. So it's like her palettes actually serve a full purpose for me when it comes to stuff like this, because it's like these colors I can't use on my eyes, I can use to set my concealer underneath my eyes when I go on vacation. Or I can use a set of concealer underneath my eyes just to get my money's worth out of it. But the point is, she makes multi-purpose things for me to use. So that's one thing I do appreciate about Kirsten's brand. But it's like, did we need both these palettes? Since both the color stories are pretty much the same. This one just is, I feel like, more dark skin friendly when it comes to the browns in it. Because they are deeper, they work a little bit better for my skin tone than they would for others. But at the same time, it's like, again, did I really need this? I don't feel like I needed both of these. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I have both of them because I love Kirsten, so I have every palette that she has made. I even have the little sweater weather Christmas collection. Now, I wasn't as excited about that one just because I wanted her to make tiny palettes, but I wanted her to make tiny palettes in the form of like, you know, these 6-pan type palettes, and then you know, like she give us like other ideas. Like, I did a whole video talking about what I wanted to see. It was one of those Dear Dominique Cosmetics videos. So, yeah, she went in a different route, but she did do the little 6-pan like I asked. So I guess it was a step in the right direction. I don't know. But people like smaller palettes sometimes. Not that her palettes are huge and bulky palettes, but, you know, some people like these smaller palettes, like the ones I'm about to talk about now. So, we got Huda Beauty out here duping herself. But she took this one off the market, I guess, when she realized that, you know, people already had this palette in this form. Because when I open these up, you'll see what I'm talking about. They're damn near exactly the same. The only difference is, obviously, being a brown person, I don't need this shade right here. So, she took that out because, you know, this palette looks damn near identical to this one. So if you have this one, I feel like you don't really need this nude rich if you already have this one, because look at these. I mean, she moved the colors around differently, but like they're damn near identical. And it's like, I feel like she just recycled shades out of this one, took that color out, made a couple of changes and moved the stuff around. Because see, they see the same brown shade is here. Look at this, the same brown shade is here on the bottom, that same red shimmer's up there at the top. That same pinkish shimmer in the middle is this one in the corner here. That same taupe shade is this one right here. The only difference is the lighter one in the middle and that silveryish type shade toward the top, and maybe the darker plum. But it's like the majority of this palette is exactly the same. I see why she got rid of this one, because it's like, who in their right mind would have bought both of these? Well, clearly me, but I got this one at 20% off, and I was going to declutter this one, but then I was like, they are so much alike. Before I do that, I'm going to show it to everyone, or I might just leave this one at home, and then just take this one to my grandmother's house, because that way, you know, I have the exact same color story for when I want to do a look. Not to mention I had the new nude, so it's like she duped herself in big form, small form. She was just like, we just finna be some dupeaholics up in here. I'm just finna dupe everything that I already did 2 times over, because that's what people want, which is nudes. So the formula on this one is way better than this one, I will say that, but I like the formula on this one and on the new nudes palette the best. So this one will definitely go to grandma's house just as a last step measure. But anyway, so those are the 5 brands that I feel duped themselves, along with, of course, the honorable mentions. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. Let me know if you want me to like show other stuff as dupes, because I feel like there are foundations in my collection that like dupe each other as well. I don't know if they're high-end versus drugstore type things, but I feel like there are foundations I have that compares to each other pretty well. Now, they're not going to be exact, like literally this brand copied itself type thing, but we can do that too if you want. Let me know down below. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.